Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's all fantastic. Everything here is pretty darn great. I had a good weekend. How was your weekend? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, and I know I don't really say that or ask enough for you to comment, but please do. So, let me put this away. Sorry. I got free wood this weekend, and I need to make something for a friend, so I was looking for wood. Today was my first official day as a project manager, and I did nothing different than I would on any other normal day. I don't know when or if I'll be told what exactly my job is. Considering this position didn't exist prior to me, I think we're still trying to figure that out. So we'll see where it goes. But what I was smiling about is not that. It's because I have started on yet again another prototype. So this is 3 that I'm working on concurrently. I'm working on the re-theme of the Native American game that I started 6 or 7 years ago. I'm working on a complete redo of a game that I started probably more like 10 years ago, maybe even longer than that. I'm working on a complete redo of that, and it's a train theme game. And M said one day, she said, "Why are you making?" She's like, "I thought we were going to playtest your game, the train game." And I said, "I don't think it'll work 2-player." And then she said, "Why are you making games that aren't for 2 players?" She's like, it's just the 2 of us all of the time. Like, why would you make games that require more than 2 people?" And my answer to her was, well, I don't know. And then I had to think about it. And I thought, the real reason is that 2-player games aren't marketable. They're very, very difficult to market. If I was to kickstart a product myself, maybe I could pull that off. But to find a publisher for a 2-player game is basically not possible. And then I started thinking about it more. And I thought about, Ignacy makes a whole lot of 2-player games that happen to play more players, right? If you look at the Portal Games catalog of Empires of the North, Imperial Settlers, 51st State, Alien Artifacts, those are 2-player games that just happen to support more than 2 players. And so I guess the answer is I don't know. And I think in those particular situations, those things support 2 players because there isn't a whole lot of player interaction. There's a little bit. It's not like a traditional CCG where you're directly combating each other. Combating? That's a weird way of saying it. Where you're directly influencing each other, like you're attacking. And so playing a multiplayer CCG is difficult, but playing a multiplayer engine builder, it doesn't really require a whole lot of player interaction. So those work just as well 2-player as they do with multiple players. It just, when you add another player, it adds more time. That's it. That's really the only thing. And so I thought about it. I thought, well, why don't I try to design like an engine builder? I've never really, I have. Let me take that back. The game that I sent to Mayfair years and years and years ago, like 8 years ago at this point, is an engine builder. Kinda. It has more engine building than anything else was ever designed. And I fully intend to resurrect that prototype at some point in the future. I'm just not ready to look at it yet. It's going to take me a whole lot of headspace to get back into it. It is a very large, very complex beast. That's not true. It's a big prototype. It's not super complex. But the design of it is. Like, it requires a whole lot of math and thinking and tuning that I'm not ready to do yet. Because I really haven't designed for 4 or 5 years, and so I kind of have to get back into it. But for the first time in a very long time, I have a brand new idea. And I thought about it a little bit, what she said, while I'm designing a game for 2 players. And the thing that I want to play all of the time is a Cube Rails train game. I want to play like an actual train game. But 2 players, it sucks. You can. Like, Railways of the World plays fine with 2 people. But it's still not, it's not quite the experience that I want, right? I want there to be consequences to the way that you lay track. which happens when you've got 4 or 5 people putting track out constantly. Like, there's this consequences of where the track goes. You can kind of block people in. You can see that company A has so much money and can't afford to go over the mountains, so they have to go around and, whatever. I want that in a 2-player game, and it's very difficult to find that unless you've got each person taking multiple turns, building multiple trains. It doesn't really work all that well. The auctions don't work very well in 2-player. 2-player auctions is just kind of, I bet one, until somebody goes, okay, and it's just kind of boring. So I thought about, what do I want? What do I want out of a train game? I want the track laying to be important. I want it to be like, there's consequences to the way that you lay your track. I want connections to be important. So connecting cities is an important part of the game. And I want the share certificates to be an interesting choice instead of just, I take whatever is the next available certificate, right? So what I've come up with is a 2-player train game that has stock certificates, and it has different colored cities. I'm only using 4 colors on a 10 city map. So there'll be 10 cities that have colors. There's other cities, but they don't necessarily have colors, and I'm not going to try to explain all that yet. But 10 cities that have colors means that there's 2 cities that have 3 and 2 cities that have 2. And the idea is that you'll score based on whether you can connect one of each color. Like, so for every additional color that you connect, you'll get extra bonuses, right? And what I've come up with to make the tile laying portion of the game interesting, not that in this I'm not going to use tiles. I'm going to use trains like a Cube Rails game or Ticket to Ride. I'm not going to do the tile placing like Railways of the World. What I have come up with is a card-driven tile laying mechanic, where the cards, I will show you close-ups of these. The cards show you where you lay your tiles, and the cards can be rotated 180. So this diagonal goes 3 up and to the right, or you can flip it over and you can go down and to the left. And what happens is you're sitting across from your opponent, and so my orientation of the board is looking like this, and your orientation of the board is looking like that, and so we can flip and rotate our cards to lay our pieces on the board. There will be difficult terrain, there will be water, there will be, difficult terrain and water that cause certain things to happen on your turn, and also when you cross over tracks, certain things will happen. So there'll be some very important decisions to make based on the cards that you have in your hand, which is going to be a limited supply of like maybe 5 cards. I might even do only 4 cards. I want you to be able to have good choices, so I want you to be able to say, all right, these 2 cards go together and I can do that. But I don't want you to have so many choices that you're sitting here like trying to flip and rotate and look and go, oh, this is difficult. I did a game like this. I did a game like this on a square board, not on a hex board. It's called Tuesday Night Tanks, and some of you have it and some of you have played it. And it works really well, except that when you're playing the cards in that game, board orientation doesn't matter. It's your tank's orientation. So you're taking all these cards in your hand and you're going, okay, if my tank does that, then he's going to go here. You're trying to figure out where he's going to go. So in that game, I limited you to just a couple of cards, or like maybe there's 3 cards in your hand. So you're going to play 2, and you don't really have a whole lot of choice. And I want to keep that probably alive in this game, because if you get like 6 or 7 cards in your hand, you're sitting here going, all right, I can do this and I can do that, and this will go there, and that really slows things down to the point that, why are we doing this? And I think I'm going to go with a, if you've played the Ticket to Ride Pennsylvania map, there is a stock certificate situation in that game where you just take a certificate every turn. You don't have to pay for it. Nothing happens for the company. You just take one. And at the end of the game, it's a set collection. Whoever has the most of this gets that. Whoever has the most of this gets that. I'm going to do a similar thing where you're taking those stock certificates, but the stock certificate that you take is also the train that you're building that turn. And so, it might sometimes be beneficial to take a train that your opponent is doing well in and just run them off the board. And, while it doesn't necessarily impede that that company's ability to expand, it might be enough waste that you can catch up, with one of your others. But of course, they could do that to you. And so I think there's a lot of emergent play based on how players decide to take the certificates and where they're going to build. And the board will be semi-random. I've drawn up a couple of different layouts to test. The randomness will be the cities that have what colors are on each city. So that'll be important. But yeah, it feels really good to be thinking about design again. I hand drew these, so I hand drew some cards and play tested like this for quite a while with myself. These cards just don't work really well when they're not sitting face up on the table and I can look at them, right? So I need to have. So I've already. What I'm trying to say is I've already ordered some prototypes. I did a really quick rushed graphic design just because I can have a nice layout for me and M to play with. And I think that the card design, I don't want them to do more than just movement. I don't think. There might be the ability to say, like some of the cards might have skip placement restriction for that card. You know, when you play that card, maybe you can go across the mountains or whatever. So I might add that later. I can just write that in for now. So we'll see. But it feels good to be back in the saddle designing games. So just wanted to share. Maybe someday I'll get that Hedeby game back out from Mayfair and try to go at it again. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. And we'll probably talk more about this subject, so I hope you don't get sick of it. Today's word you should know to sound smart is gratuitous. It's an adjective meaning unnecessary, inappropriately excessive, uncalled for. Being accused of making money by selling sex in Hollywood, home of the casting couch and the gratuitous nude scene, is so rich with irony that it's a better subject for a comic novel than a column. Anna Quindlen, American author and opinion columnist. Gratuitous. Gratuitous. I got nothing. It's a good word though. I like gratuitous.